math to figure out how her payments were knocking down her loan. So she got 17% interest. She's been paying, and it's not covering the interest. Now her college loan, she owes more than when she started. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of people that fell for the scam. They didn't get something that would make them enough money to cover the loan. And I think it's something like 70% of all this unpaid loan is women. Mostly women getting jobs that don't really pay that much, like getting college degrees for things that don't pay that much. But now she won't be able to be with nobody that doesn't have a college education because she thinks they're below her now. That's how it's going to be. She's going to go around thinking she's smarter than everyone. She's not even smart enough to turn down a 17% interest bearing loan when she has no income. Can't make this shit up, folks. And then what are all these women going to do? They're going to outvote smarter people and vote to have the taxpayer cover their debt. It's absolute horseshit. I remember I used to have this snake, and I used to fall for its charm. And I thought it was a friend, but it was just a snake. And she was very immature in her mind. Her mind never grew up. Everything in politics, it was just like she's an NPC, repeat whatever the leftist Jews told her to believe is what she was going to believe. You could predict what her opinions would be based on what the news was. And she'd get to thinking she was really smart and be saying the most dumbest shit. And then she'd be really against Andrew Jackson and be watching this woman on YouTube whose only cited sources were Jewish owned newspapers. Like, of course, they don't like the man that ended Rothschild's control over America during that time, paid off the national debt during that time, protected the country from invasions during that time. And people they go back and they look at history and they think of it in the context of the modern world. You really should judge people in history based on the context of what where they were at, what they lived in. Tell a joke. I don't know that I really got a joke on the top of my head under pressure right now. I guess it's kind of a joke that woman's crying about the loan that she took out at 17% interest to pay something for college that would never pay her debt off, and then thinks she's smarter than everyone else for going to college when she couldn't afford it without a 17%. Now won't date anybody that doesn't have a college degree that actually makes enough money to pay off her college loan. And then her and a bunch of other dumb people are going to outvote other people and get their debts paid for by the workers that were smart enough not to take the 17% loan. I'm not really, I wish I had a joke for you. I'm kind of not, I don't know that I'm in the mood to be able to come up with a good joke. I'm upset for reasons I shouldn't be upset. I woke up. I just don't feel like going to work. I'm going to work, of course, but I wish I could have just kept holding on to Brittany and go back to sleep. Stop bitching, bro. You right. You absolutely right. It ain't gonna do no good. Complaining ain't never fixed nothing. But how much am I supposed to bear? Like, how much am I supposed to just keep getting taxed? Like, for instance, so on average, some of my melanated brothers, you average them out as a demographic, they're costing $750,000 per lifetime on average a piece is what I'm going to have to pay in taxes. Me and my people, I guess, $2 trillion a year for the rest of all of eternity. We're going to have to pay for other people's dumb decisions. Yes, we're all connected. It's like the whole country sharing the same credit card. Not sharing the same work, but just spill everything out on the taxpayer. I do think that you're right, though. Even still, even it doesn't really matter how much is going on. Bitching or complaining doesn't fix the problem. Now, you'll lose your channel if you really say too much. But if you look at history, history sort of proves what the answer to these problems are. And it's victory. It's not protest. It's not complaining. It's not debating. That's all just stalling. Because at the end of the day, you don't really convince the people. There's people that they don't want to understand. They don't want to be responsible. Going back to my snake friend I was telling about in the beginning of the video, I started to notice that that's how they approached everything in politics. Everything was from immaturity. Everything was from this idea that they had no duties or responsibilities in society whatsoever, but they did have privileges and rights. That's how you get these kind of people that just with no guilt go enslave people. They get the government to, the government's going to put people in jail if they don't pay their taxes. They force slave masters. Every time they swap the EBT, they're a slave master. Poor or rich, they're a slave master. Somebody else is going to work to buy their food, and then they feel entitled to it. Well, what's really crazy is I know a lot of people that do it, and not one of them have to do it. They're sitting like the yard could be a garden, but it's crap. And then I'll be like, they got their insurance paid for, they got the vehicle, they got the phone, the internet, the candy, the hair, the nails, the spray, the new clothes, the new phone, the new iPhone. They got all these things, and they could just live within their means and buy their own food, but they're like, no, I'm going to be a child forever. I'm going to have other grown-ups pay for my food. We need to take the safety net away. We need to take it away. I know people that have never worked a job their entire life and they're in their 50s. And why? They don't have no hunger to get a job because they're going to eat every day regardless. We need to take that away. And then they go to work. But it's like, what do you call it? I'm trying to think of like there's a lot of people that are jumping on that ship because they're like, well, it's sinking anyway. Everybody's on them anyway. Me too. We're going to run out of workers. We're going to have too many people taken and not enough people given into the system. So then I start wondering, well, how do I benefit, being part of the system? I'm just, having half the country be a parasite on me. What do I get out of this? And you could say, well, a good person would just I'm not against charity. That's the thing. There's a big difference between charity and forced redistribution of wealth. And we've got entire factions, entire races, entire groups of people in the country that feel like it's okay for them to be a parasite and that anybody who has a problem with it is the one that's greedy. And it's just really crazy that they don't think they're greedy for wanting what they did not earn, but they think people are greedy that did earn for not just giving it to them for free. This is a real problem. It's going to make that movie Idiocracy happen. We're breeding people who couldn't survive on their own. And we're reducing, the people who can, we're making it to where they can't breed as much. They can't afford to have as much kids because they're having to subsidize people having kids that would not make it otherwise. And that's not good for the future. See, a lot of this short-term compassion is long-term cruelty. A lot of it's just weakness disguised as compassion. People say, well, we're being nice. We're being compassionate. If you see a humanity in 1,000 years from now based on the decisions we've made now, nobody would think it was compassionate at all. They'd be like, damn, the average IQ of humanity's dropped 40 points. Maybe that wasn't that compassionate. Well, now the whole state is broke and nobody can be taken care of. Maybe it wasn't that compassionate. There's all these. There's a kind of help that's not help. It just enables people to be the worst version of themselves. And I'm not just coming after the little guy, but everybody's going after the big man. Everybody talks about the evil of the politicians and the CEOs. But why not take accountability for the common man? I mean, the real problems in this country, a lot of them are about 40% of the American people that's the problem. Living beyond their means, being entitled, feeling they have no social responsibility whatsoever, and leeching off of everyone else. I mean, with people kidding themselves to think it's all the politicians or all the CEOs or rich people. You've got a tyranny of weak, greedy, poor people too, that are going to vote for every dumb thing that comes along if it means that they can get something for nothing. People need to be real about the situation we're in. We did not get in this situation just by the people at the top. You said, I want my money. What is my money? You know what? Whatever you earned, I mean, that's your money. But what somebody else earned isn't anybody else's money. Problem is, people want equal outcomes, but not equal efforts. And our whole society is based on the lie of egalitarianism. We just assume without any evidence, without any scientific proof, because it's something that'll make everybody's feelings feel good. We just go ahead and assume everybody has equal ability, equal intelligence, equal strength, and it's just not true. And so you can't, and people build society without taking into consideration the facts. They work off what would make everybody feel good. And it just shores up everybody's insecurity to just go ahead and say everybody's equal. This thing, I have met men. Like, I was on a job site, I don't know how long it's ago. But this other man, right, he's super smart. He's better looking. He's stronger. He's richer. There's no reason for me to look at that other man and be like, I'm equal to him. I'm not. Like, what happened in his bloodline and lineage that they're like 2 feet taller than me, smarter than me, stronger than me, and I'm just going to sort of pretend? That's coming out of the place of insecurity where someone says, you're no better than me. How do you know? I've never thought that. Like, I have never thought that I know everything. I know I don't know everything. But my Auntie Lane, who's dead now, and this is why, I don't talk bad about the dead, but when my granddaddy died and I said something about, well, granddaddy wanted this or granddaddy said that, she's like, he's a dead man now, so nothing he said mattered. That changed the way I felt about her. She's a dead woman now. Fuck her. But anyway, she said, all she did in life was watch the Kardashians and talk shit about people. She would just laugh with her family members and pick on people. She never tried to educate herself. And if I ever knew anything about something, it'd piss her off. She'd be like, oh, you think you're an expert in everything. You think you know everything. But like, when I was bored, I read encyclopedias. I watched educational stuff. Out of boredom, I would just research and learn stuff. And that's how I knew, because I just spent 6 hours a day watching stupid ass TV all day. So we weren't equal in knowledge because she did not, she had no interest in it. And so there's a lot of people, they want to feel like they're equal to everybody, but they don't want to put in the effort. And it's really nonsense. It breaks down really quick if you think about it. So she said, like somebody will say, like this recovering drug addict, she tells me, nobody's better than me, and it's the child molester. Do you really think that, you're no better than he is? So someone who just, allows herself to descend in absolute degeneracy and wickedness, they're out there hurting children. you think you're no better than them? Come on now. This equality shit is just to make people feel better. It's not there's nothing backing it up whatsoever. No two individuals are equal. Nothing in nature is equal. It's just absolute bullshit. But we start building our whole entire culture off of that lie. And then it leads to a lot of other problems. And so we should have took that into consideration when we decide, let's just strap all the taxpayers together and try to give everybody equal outcomes. It's a recipe for absolute disaster. When the Soviet Union first started, there were some people who really believed in it passionately. And they worked super hard trying to build this utopian state. And everybody else mooched off of them. Everybody else started slacking off. They're going to get paid the same regardless. And eventually, there wasn't enough people working. There's too many people eating, not enough people working. The whole society got lazy and envious. When they ended the Soviet Union, certain farmers would work harder and they would start becoming successful. And everybody was used to having everything equal, and they'd look over and they'd see their neighbor prosper and go burn their farm down because it made them feel bad. They're like, hey, we're supposed to be equal, and you just bought an extra cow? Fuck your farm. I'm going to burn it down. I had a friend from Mexico City. He says it's in their culture there, too. He said if any one Mexican starts to do better than the rest, they all kick him down. They want to be equal. We're never going to get these women as strong as men. Let's make men weak. That's what they do. They pull all the strong down. You got these people undisciplined with money. They're going to be buying lottery tickets. I just hate to see someone complain about a CEO and then they buy a lottery ticket. What if you would have took all the money you spent on lottery tickets and put it in, the stock market and just waited? It's just, so I really do believe what they say. If you took all the money in the world, divided it out equal, it'd be back into the same hands of the same people in not too long. It really would be. I saw that when the stimulus checks got handed out. A lot of that money flowed to me. Because when the stimulus checks got out, I said, you know what? Buy tools, buy assets. What everybody else around do? They was like, let's go buy some drugs. Let's go buy some speakers. Let's go buy toys. Let's go, and me and my buddy, all the money come to us. 1 pound morphine to go. Is that what I'm driving while I'm trying to read? I couldn't have read that right. 1 pound. Oh. Hey, it's cool to have a new subscriber. Welcome here. But that's how there's a whole. Back to what I said, I'm about at work, so I'm going to quit talking. So I just, like what I'm saying, a lot of people blame everything on the politicians, but the main problem is you got half of the Americans in the country feel that they're entitled to all kind of privileges, but they don't feel that they have any responsibilities. You see this with, you figure out why people vote for what party they're on based on if they got a child mind or not. Like the whole thing of, why do people support abortions? Well, they don't believe that women should have to or can be responsible for their own sexuality. That's what it all comes down to. I should be able to kill babies because I shouldn't be expected to have any obligation to take care of my own child. I should be able to get free food. I should be able to get my college loans paid for. It's this child mentality. And then they think that they're in the moral right to do it, but the government is using a monopoly of violence to go steal money from other people to give it to you because you're not responsible and you think that you should be a child your whole life. So I'd say, yeah, there's politicians are a problem. Israel controlling America is a problem. Dennis Prager, I just heard Dennis Prager of the Republican, whatever, he's conservative. He said he thinks it's okay for people to masturbate to animated child porn. He's also a Jew. So the Muslims, they think their prophet had sex with a child. The Jews say that Rebecca was 3. And so they never want to outlaw. Like every American in the country, you ask them, what do you think should happen to child molesters? Death penalty. The politicians always let it go. So I'm not saying that politicians aren't a problem. I'm not saying that there's not a problem with people at the top.
But what keeps being ignored is half of the Americans are children in their mind forever. They're entitled. They want free shit. They want the government to use a monopoly of violence to steal it from the earners and give it to them. So I'm just saying, you know, and like the person that said in the beginning of this video about quit bitching, they're right. You're just going to have to, you know, history is a history of war. People argue, eventually they fight about it, and that's what decides it. So there's no point in really complaining, arguing, and bitching. I don't know why I'm doing it. You're just eventually going to have to fight these communists and get rid of them and build a whole new society. It's good that societies collapse. That's how there can be innovation and people can build it back better. But we founded our whole society on a lie, and it's catching up to us. And I'm at work, and I got to go. But here, if you want to buy, there's a phone number. If you need a garage door, I don't know if it's on camera or not. Maybe you pause it. There's a number. It's inverted. I'm going to get off the camera because I don't know that the boss wants me filming the inside of this building. I like America too. I just have a problem with half of the Americans. I do like this. What I do like the whole, you know, I like how America used to be. Everybody's got, give people the freedom to fail or be successful and let everybody compete. They're trying to turn America into a communist country. That's the problem. And half of Americans are communist, and that's a problem.